Today's podcast episode on Spill with Me, Jenny D is sponsored by CFS Bank. Let's do it together.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better. I can't wait. Making my move. Live for the day. Sing like a bird. Fly like a plane. Come spill with me, Jenny D.
Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me with another episode of Spill with Me, Jenny D. I am just so thrilled to have my guest today, Bobbi. I wanted to do July for inspiring women who have come from maybe a childhood that, you didn't think you could get back up again. But she is one of those people that when you hear her story and what she's doing now, you will think, you'll be cheering her on. So further ado, Bobbi, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to share with everybody what's happening for me anyway. So I am a life coach and I specialize in self-love and embodiment, as well as work with people on kind of more of a somatic level from the aspect looking at internally what's going on to affect your world externally. So it's a little bit of a different take on, coaching in general. Came from a food and body background where I did a lot of weight loss coaching and things like that, and quickly realized that there was a lot more to it than the physical. So it's kind of like from the inside out approach.
I love that. Mm-hmm. So I met Bobbi at a Jackhammer Fit.
Yep.
She was doing this meditation kind of yoga. Actually, it was more of like a stretching, wasn't it?
We did do some yoga, and then we also did breath work. So it was a full meditative breath work session.
Oh my gosh.
Minutes, yeah.
If you have not done this before, you need to try it with Bobbi, because I'll tell you what, that's what inspired me. I'm like, I need to have her on my show because she just made me feel so like alive and just really got into my inner soul. And I thought, you know what? This woman is amazing. And her soft voice, you can hear her so soft right now. And just her sounds and the music and all the moves. I was just like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Just when I left there, I felt rejuvenated. I felt so good. And I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to do that. I mean, taking people into their inner landscape,
yes.
Allowing, I shouldn't say taking, because I'm not taking you anywhere. You're doing that for yourself, right? So you're just by connecting to the breath, connecting to your nervous system in a way that we don't typically do day to day. We hit the ground running all the time. We're always in hyper mode. So what that type of meditative breath work does is really allows us to kind of gear down, like take it from fifth gear to fourth gear, third gear,
exactly,
all the way down. I mean, ideally neutral is kind of nice, right?
Right. Well, what do you recommend, like, as far as for someone daily? Because, we all get stressed out. We're all like running,
mm-hmm.
And just trying to keep up with everything. Do you suggest like maybe 10 minutes out of the day, do some type of meditation, or what do you suggest?
It honestly is something that I like to say to my clients and people that I work with, even in groups, is that it's so important to integrate things into your life. Like, for you have a busy life, you have a family, you have a business, so if I say, oh, hey, Jenny, you need to take 10 or 15 minutes every day and sit in stillness with your legs crossed, close your eyes and breathe, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that sounds freaking great. When am I going to do that? Like, when am I going to fit that? And do I have to get up earlier? Do I have to stay up? Yeah. And so honestly, the way I feel about it is it's integrative. Like doing things that work for you in your life. Right. So yeah, ideally, do I wake up an hour and a half before I leave my house and sit at my altar? Yeah, I do. Yeah. But that's because that's what I do.
Right. That's what you do.
But it's not for everybody. So what I suggest is to just find pockets of your day. Like sometimes with my clients, I'll say, hey, when you pull in to your garage or your driveway before you walk into your house, just, as you turn off the car or you leave the car, whatever, you want to do, just find a few minutes just to connect inward.
I'm getting calm right now.
Yeah, just to connect inward. And same thing like waking up in the morning, another super easy kind of fun thing to do is to immediately upon waking up, just go right into gratitude.
Yes.
Take your first breath with your eyes still closed. And before you even, consider shutting off the alarm or anything, just what can I really be grateful for today?
That's, Bobbi, that is so important. You're so right about that. What I started doing too is I started listening to, when I look it up on Apple Music, I look up sounds, like soft sounds, sleep sounds, meditation sounds. And I'll tell you, it really soothes me. Mm-hmm. It kind of brings me back, to think about, sometimes you'll hear the ocean sounds or, water sounds are there's so many of those.
Oh, yeah.
And you can hear the outdoors and it's just soothing.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Nature is our best teacher. Absolutely. It's 100%. You asked about, how do we do these things in our life? How do we get to these places where we can be more calm and more centered?
Right.
And it's spending time in nature. So, again, without adding things to your day, we all eat lunch outside.
Yes.
Put the phone down.
Put that phone down.
Go out into nature. Notice the sounds of the birds.
Yes.
Because these are the things like that, everything is energetic, and the birds don't wake up in the morning and say, we're not going to chirp today. The waves don't stop waving because they're too tired, right? So we can actually connect to our energy and attract more energy in when we slow down. Yeah. It's the opposite of what you would think, right?
Right.
You think, yeah, of course, yeah, do I exercise? Absolutely. But that's not how I maintain my peace and my calm. I do that through connecting to nature, allowing myself that gearing down time to regulate my nervous system to a place where I'm not always in hyper arousal mode.
Right.
That fight or flight state that,
it's so true.
have adapted to.
Right. When you say flight, wait, what'd you say?
A fight or flight.
Fight or flight. I'm going to it's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that because it's so true. If you think about, as we go through our lives, and this is why what attracted me to Bobbi as well, because I was reading her story and, we're going to get into that now. So, you didn't do this from the beginning. So when you were younger, hon, I know, and you share whatever you want to share about your story, hon, but tell the listeners what you've been through and why you're so into doing all this self-care and meditation and just really aligning yourself. I love that, aligning yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in just a little bit of a chaotic environment. Parents were, young high school sweethearts and they had their time, right? And then things got a little bit hectic and crazy. And they, my parents went through a pretty nasty divorce, which left I have 3 sisters and a brother. So we have a large family. So my mom was a single mom for many years. And we struggled intensely, I should say, just, moving every few months. We would live somewhere for a little while, then it would be difficult for my mom to keep up with the expenses. And, we would end up, having to leave because we couldn't afford it and move it. So I think I went to, 7 or 8 schools in my 12 years of school.
It's hard to move from school to school, especially, young girls.
Yeah. And at that time, it was prior to, being able to keep in touch with people. Certainly we
didn't have
we didn't have cell phones, no internet, but we wouldn't have had access to it anyway. We oftentimes didn't even have a home phone in our house. So, I definitely, had a lot of sense of growing up of not fitting in, a lot of just anguish, anxiety. I don't like to relate to anxiety because it's such a common thing right now. But I just feel like when I look back on it, getting on the school bus, always having butterflies in my stomach, always feeling
being the new kid in class,
super scared to walk into the room, and I was to a point, after a few moves where I was like, well, why even bother making friends? So I became just very individual, shy to an extent, but really more so just not wanting to open up because I knew that I was not going to be there,
Right.
or that I would not be able to maintain the friendships.
I never even thought about that, Bobbi, but that's true. Like you become so like, not what is it? What's the word? You just felt like this wasn't like, why even bother?
Why bother? Right. So I wouldn't say reclusive, but closed off for sure.
Yes.
So I just got hard. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I was very,
right. You had a hard shell.
Oh yeah. By the time I was in junior high school, I was.
Junior high school is so hard.
I definitely, well, first of all, I had a lot of coping mechanisms, right? Like, so I would eat. I ate for comfort. So and so then now not only am I the new kid in school, but I was really overweight. I was uncomfortable, and I didn't play gym class well, because I couldn't, I heard a podcast the other day I was listening to, and they were talking about the president's fitness level thing. And that literally was like a trigger for me. I was like, oh my goodness. I remember when they made us do pull-ups and sit-ups and all that stuff. And you were being like,
hanging on that bar, going on that rope. I mean, come on, what is that going to do?
Meanwhile, I was like this super overweight, very unhealthy, living on processed food.
I used to get anxiety about that.
Yeah, it was super anxious, anxiety producing for me. I don't remember a rope, but there might have been that I just was like, no, because
I know. And then we had to do pull-ups, and you had to see how many
pull-ups. Like,
why?
Yeah,
I don't know what the reason was.
I'm into fitness now, but it's like at the time that was super.
But it's almost like if you think back on that, they were doing school, whatever, the gym teacher, whatever, they were actually not doing good for us because they were showcasing like, look at how well this person is, and look at you can't even climb it.
Yeah,
how about some encouragement to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. That's not something I know I can do.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I always say I'm good at things, but that isn't one of them. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff. So it really ended up creating, just for me, as a young person, this really kind of, I was a bitch, you know what I mean? I was not nice. I didn't have a lot of friends because I was afraid.
Like that, I'm sure, because it was just more of like, you were protecting yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, I am not getting close to anybody.
Nope. Yeah.
And I don't want people to know what I'm going through.
Absolutely.
Or what, I get it. It was a different time then.
Totally. And, looking back on it now, I don't honestly have regrets. I know that everything that I have gone through has brought me to where I am today.
Right.
They were all things that, for whatever reason, I got the opportunity to work through and heal for myself. And I look back at even the friendships that I had along the way and how those did benefit me. And it's always, things always work out the way they're supposed to. And,
right, they do.
I look back at maybe like a handful of friends or families that I would, kind of hang out with in the absence of having a family unit that was, my immediate family, my own biological family.
Right.
I kind of navigated towards these, other friends and family that were very supportive and
I totally
loving and, had like intact parents. Like, so for me, even that was interesting, right? To walk into a family where they were going to eat dinner together, or they were going to, spend time playing a board game or something like that, or building a puzzle.
I felt the same way because I was raised by a single mom as well. And then I was in a community of like townhouses where there were all divorced families. And I remember going to other people's houses and just being like, oh my gosh, like this is so different from, but that's all I knew. That's all you knew. That was your life. That was what you were going through.
Yeah.
So you went to high school where?
I went to Ken McMillan. Yep.
Okay.
Here.
And then after you graduated high school, were you able to go to college?
I went to community college for a very short time. I was doing part-time classes for a year there. I did well in school. I excelled in school. I had really good grades, but I did not like it.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing about school that I liked. Yeah, I just didn't.
I always say I'm not book smart.
Yeah.
Street smart.
I mean,
I don't even know if I'm that.
Yeah. I think I can go both ways when it comes to like, I definitely, I was a super good test taker.
Yes.
And I think part of that, the resiliency of growing up, in a place where I always had to figure things out, gave me this problem solving ability. So usually I was very good at it. So my grades were always super good, but I just didn't like school. Like I had zero interest. So I went to community college for a year and just took some classes because I wanted to also, I was paying for it. So I went wanted to make sure that it was something that I was actually going to maintain, you
Right.
know, or
you don't want to pay
I
for
wasn't
it
going to, just
quit.
go in full boat and like, ugh. So then I did go to Slippery Rock for another year.
That's where my son goes. Yeah.
After community college. And my intention was to study physical therapy because where I started off in this whole self-exploration process coming from a very chaotic, lots of trauma in my childhood. I mean, I don't think it's important to go into details around it, but it was just, I always felt unsafe. I always felt super scared. I didn't trust anyone or anything.
I get it.
So
I get it.
moving through all of that and then going into college and kind of feeling that out and having to work.
Right.
So I always had to have a job. I mean, I started working super young, like 14 years old.
Where were you working?
I worked in a diner in downtown Canonsburg on Pike Street, and I would wash dishes just for tips. Like by hand, dishwashing, drying, and they would give me the tips like that, and people were mostly having coffee and donuts there. So, you're talking about a nickel a dime, but back in,
that was a lot.
Yeah. And I
we
could
used
go
to use
buy.
change back
Yes.
then.
Yeah.
Gum was like 5 cents.
Yes. I remember going to the Dairy Queen all the time. I'm a big ice cream person. So yeah, I always would save up my coins for the Dairy Queen. So yeah, but having worked, and using food for comfort.
Yes.
So, I was saying about wanting to go into physical therapy because I felt like the physical body was what I needed because having grown up being completely, very overweight. I mean, I graduated high school at 190 pounds. So I was I'm only 4'11".
Yeah.
So I'm very small. And so that was really big. And so I was super self-conscious about my weight, super uncomfortable all the time.
I get it, yeah.
So my first kind of experience with self-improvement, personal development kind of stuff was through physical. Like I really thought I needed to, exercise, eat better, that kind of thing. And I thought, physical therapy, that'd be a great career for me.
Right.
So, and I worked in gyms as I go older into my teen years to the extent where I couldn't afford a gym membership. So I don't know if anyone remembers the Washington Cosmopolitan Club in the Washington or Franklin Mall. It's now like the Crown Center.
Really? There's probably people out there that remember it.
That was back in the day. But I used to clean the showers in there and they would let me work out there for free because I would come in before high school.
Yeah.
I would go in at like 6:30 in the morning, clean the showers, do water aerobics, and then go to school.
But
so,
you put your health first.
Yeah, because I felt like that was the start for me to start to take control over myself.
Right.
Yeah.
When you feel better when you work out or, and you just better about your body and your skin and your outside. Like you said, you have to go from the inner to the outer. And your inner, if your inner keeps telling you like, just eat that ice cream and who cares about your weight. But really your mind's saying, no. You need to get healthy. You need to be healthy for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's the 3 parts, and what I know now, right, is that, we have our mental body, we have our physical body, and then we have our emotional body. So I initially went down the road of the physical body, and I really did. I mean, I did lose weight. I did feel better. But then I kind of started, that was, 25, 26 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even.
And you stayed, you stayed in that same, so you kept going. Like, what would you tell someone who maybe is going through what you went through as a child? Sometimes you don't know what your next meal is. You don't know where you're moving. You don't know, clothes, anything. And what would you tell somebody?
I actually am a volunteer for an organization that works with kids that are sometimes in difficult situations. So yeah, I do tell them, that they're loved, because honestly,
you're going to make me cry.
Yeah, I'm going to start crying myself.
I know.
It's like, that's what we miss. You know what I mean? Like all of the, material things in the world don't matter if you don't feel. So that physical body, is one thing, right? We need to be able to move and, be able to, get up and do what we need to do to get through a day. But sometimes it's not being able to drag that emotional body along.
Right.
And so feeling loved and knowing that you are cared for, that you matter.
Right. You matter.
That's super important too. So when I'm, what's the movie? Is it The Helper where she would say to the little girl, you are, no crap. There were 3 things she said. You're strong. You are beautiful. You are kind. I think were the 3 things she said.
Oh, wait, I got to write that down.
You are strong. You are beautiful. You are kind. It could be, but even if that isn't the exact,
that is now.
But it is now. We made it up, yeah. So, but just letting people know they matter, and that's honestly a big part of the work that I do today is allowing people to kind of drop into that inner landscape,
yes,
and connect to those parts of themselves that are tender, the parts of ourselves that are.
Because sometimes we don't want to relive our childhood or even talk about it because we feel that it's, we don't want to, woe is me. Nobody wants to hear about my sad story. Mm-hmm. But when you think about, what a resilient young lady you are, like what you've went through and where you are today, and you're able to talk about it and be there for other people that may be going through it. That to me is just, it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It inspires me. This is why I do this podcast, because I find so many people that inspire me to be better, to inspire me to say, keep going, Jen. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at this person, look at that person, Mm-hmm. And I just, when I read Bobbi's story, I was like, wow, what she's been through and what she's doing now, she's changing lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had one session with you. I was like blown away by her. So tell us what you're doing now.
So the way I like to work with clients now is in small groups or one-to-one, either way, doing meditative practices, helping people to connect to their, the parts of themselves that need to be healed or that have not been maybe shown attention or, affection over time, and that we usually push that away.
Yeah.
Because we don't, to your point, we don't have to talk about, like I said earlier, we don't have to talk about the details of what's going on with an individual, right? But in order for them to heal the wounds that have happened over time, it's important to identify. So we can't really, I talk about self-love. You can't love yourself until you know yourself.
Whoa. Hold on. I like that. You can't love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Until you know yourself. So all those self-love or, self-care practices in the world aren't going to
help you unless you
until you really know. So again, it doesn't mean we have to put it all out there and bear our wounds out for the world. It just means I get to be introspective. Right. I get to learn about, it's not, and there's a big movement in trauma right now. Gabor Mate is someone that I really admire, and he's written many books. But, what he says is, it's not about what's wrong with you. It's about what happened to you.
Oh my gosh.
And it's also not about blaming anyone for that.
I know, right?
We don't look at the parents and say, "Oh yeah, my mom was this or that, or my dad or my parents split, and this is why I'm like that." It's okay. That happened to me,
right?
And I'm here.
Yeah, say that again. What he said.
He says it's not what's wrong with you; it's what happened to you. Yeah. And that's really powerful.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's our title, maybe.
Yeah, super powerful.
I write things down during the podcast because I'm thinking of titles and I'm thinking of the message that's coming out of this episode. And there's so many, because I really you can't love yourself until you know yourself.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Huge. That might be a title too. We should do a survey out there. And see
what sounds or what resonates, right? Yeah. And so the where I'm at in my journey has really taken me from that physical body through my emotional body to and so we really can connect and put all of our parts of ourselves together to, you mentioned earlier, this aligned coherence. If we can get to a place of being in coherence, and what does that require?
Right.
It requires forgiveness. It requires grace. It requires, consideration, kindness. It requires, knowing ourselves well enough so that we can actually fall in love with the person that we are, with all of our stuff that we bring with us, right?
Right.
Along the way.
We all have baggage.
Yeah, of course. Along the way of all this, crap with my family.
Chaos.
Yeah. I mean, I did some terrible things, right? You know what I mean? I didn't live a life that, that there's some things I'm not necessarily proud of.
Right.
In my
sure
past,
everybody has something.
and I made peace with that
Yes.
because those versions of me, so were acting out from a place that was unhealed.
Yes.
I was showing up in my wounds, showing up in my pain, and not able to really, be the version of myself, the best version of myself that I can be. So, do I still do things? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not perfect.
I know.
I work on this stuff all the time. And yet, I still, on my daily walks, like, hey, how could...
Forgive yourself.
Yeah. How could I have, if something's present for me that feels like it had been out of alignment? It's just an awareness. We have to have this awareness about, who we are in this world and how we want to show up.
It's so true. And, I keep seeing like somebody that I know, and I keep remembering in my childhood, we were in middle school, and she was in this group and they were bullies. And I still can't get that out of my head, even at my age. When I see these people, I'm like, oh my gosh, you were such bullies. And I remember there was one girl that everybody seemed to go for. And I was like, no, I would sit with her with lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I'd make sure she was okay. I just, I was always that, because I was like, that could be me. That could be you. That could be any of us. And I couldn't stand it. It hurt it hurt my, just hurt my heart. And I still bring that with me. And I got to get that negativeness, the bulliness, and just get it out of my life. Because, I tried to be good and do good.
Sure. Yeah.
So, how would I heal that?
So are you referring to your need to soothe another person?
Yes. Well, more
or
was
you're holding on to anger,
because when I see these people, I'm like, remember you were a bully. Like I can't get it out of my head.
Well,
Terrible.
yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it's kind of back to that.
Right.
It's not what's wrong with you.
Right.
It's what happened to you. So when we are bullying, we've been bullied, right? We're acting from that place. So honestly, I actually was a bully for sure, because I was just mean, and I was like, that was how I acted out.
Right.
So for sure, there's this thing, if you're holding on to any sort of emotion that doesn't feel good in your body, because clearly you just said, like, how do I get rid of that? I don't want that.
I don't. I want that.
So now once we identify something that we're no longer in resonance with, because we have grown from that space, right? So no longer, that doesn't resonate with me anymore, but now I have to heal it.
Right.
So, and it's
because I think, I'm sure they talked about me, and I think I knew that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's going to sound a little bit weird, or maybe not. Maybe it sounds totally normal to you, but it's be with that part. So there's a part of you that is when you encounter these people from the past or whatever, that is still that part, it's still that version, right?
Yes,
of you. And that's what you feel. So that's the physical, the body, the emotional body, they're being like, oh goodness, what's going on here?
Right.
And so now we get to kind of sit with that and say, oh my goodness, like find compassion, find curiosity.
Right. Maybe I should feel sorry for them, because maybe they were going through, they were being bullied themselves. Like you said, bullies are feeling upset, and
they're taking it
out
on someone else,
making fun of somebody else, and just, putting them down. And so I think in retrospect, I think I knew back then, you're young, you don't know. I knew they were talking about me too. And so that's why I was protecting other people, to let them know, like, don't listen to them. They're goofs, they're goofballs.
Yeah.
It'll come back to haunt them,
Yeah. And honestly, like I said, hurt people hurt people.
I wrote that down. I am doing a speech in July, and I have that on there. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. So bringing compassion, honestly, the medicine for that in my community, that's what we talk about, the medicine for it.
Can you have a potion or something?
Yeah. It's all part of our energetic being, right? It's bringing love. It's bringing compassion, softness, gentle kindness, truth, right? That's why, so the whole idea of not being able to love yourself until you know yourself is, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Am I the person that gets upset or that gets, that wants to act out against somebody who's done wrong or whatever? Or am I the person who's going to love them through it?
Yeah.
Am I the person who's going to be curious and say, wow, what is it? What happened?
Or be the bigger person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear that a lot.
I know.
The bigger person thing. It's something that, because I feel like that still puts a power over and a power under.
Yes.
So to me, it's all about neutrality.
Yeah.
We are all equal.
Right.
We all deserve to live a life that
We all deserve kindness.
Yeah, that
and
is
compassion.
right.
I love that, Bobbi. That resonates in me. I just feel like you just healed me through this podcast episode. I just got free therapy, people. So did you. So, Bobbi, before we end our podcast, tell us how someone would get a hold of you, or if they need your services. Like, where do you work, or where do you go?
Mm-hmm. I'm completely independent. I do almost 100% of my work online through.
What's your website?
It's Bobbi Renee. How do I not know my website?
How do I not?
BobbiRenee.com. So it's BOBBIRENEE. BobbiRenee.com. And everything is on there. I do offer, it's called a free flow session. So the whole idea behind, the work that I do with my clients is, living in flow with life. Stop pushing a boulder up a hill.
Oh my God.
Stop swimming upstream. Like we're fighting.
We are fighting.
Like, oh my God, can I just do this? And it's like, really? It's not that hard. I mean, and I know it doesn't feel like that when you're in some of these places, but honestly, just getting, when we stop beating ourselves down, we can build ourselves up.
I got to write this down again. Okay, say that again.
When we stop beating ourselves down, we can then build ourselves up. And especially, and I do work with men as well, but as women, we are our biggest critics. I don't know anyone that would argue with me about that.
I know.
And if you do, let me know, because I'd like to hear their opinion, because I'm super curious about it.
Right. Yeah, we are our biggest critic. We really are. And it's funny because I used to always worry about what people thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled with that, and I think that's why it was even really hard for me to start this podcast. I'm like, what are people going to think? Yeah. Are they even going to listen? Are they even going to pay attention? Because I'm like, I'm not the smartest person out there. I just enjoy people, and I enjoy spreading happiness, forgiveness, kindness. I want to create awareness, education, so people know that, you're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah, and we can feel that through your communication, through your body language. Like that's what it's about, right?
It's about
being.
That,
so
yes.
I just say, you are smart because you're sitting here and you're doing this, and and you haven't.
And I got to learn to say thank you.
Yes, and say I love that about me. Yes. So maybe there's is an invitation for just allowing yourself to be exactly who you are.
Yes.
Love on yourself.
Love on yourself.
Love on yourself.
That is the best way to end this. Thank you so much, Bobbi, for being
welcome.
On my podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Sharing your story and sharing your knowledge and what you've learned and what you're teaching other people. And I bless you for that. I really do.
Thank you. It's an honor to do.
I'm just so glad I met this wonderful woman here.
I appreciate it.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, the only other thing I would mention is we also do a monthly breath work and sound bath in Canonsburg. So if anyone's interested in that, it's just, you can find it on Eventbrite, but super fun too. Yeah. And it's
what
just
do they look
an
up?
hour long. It's called Full Moon Breath and Sound, and it's at Sacred Tones in Canonsburg every month. And we do a nice 1 hour session that includes, deep breath work, meditative breath.
I need to go there.
And then we do a sound bath after, and then we have
when you say a sound bath, am I getting in a bathtub?
No, sorry, but that's good point. Good question. I didn't. So sound bath is just basically lying still in a meditative type state where you will be bathed in sound. Vibration is super healing. Yeah. So we often use, and Jen is the one that facilitates the sound bath part, but she uses typically sound bowls, a gong, chimes. So your body, resonates at different frequencies, and the sound bowls specifically are tuned to, they actually, give out the certain frequencies. So really just it's a nice way to kind of just bring your body back into its natural
I love that.
vibration.
We'll have that in the description so
Yeah,
that
for
you
sure.
can find where it is.
Mhm.
And I am just so happy.
Yeah.
She just makes me so happy. I just feel like, really, I just got my
You're
free
too
session.
kind, Jenny. You're too kind.
But I thank you so much,
Yeah,
Bobbi,
absolutely.
for being on my podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that, we were able to send out some positive, good vibes to everybody.
Yes, I was just going to say
for
that.
sure.
Thank you for being on Spill With Me, Jenny D. Take care.
Come spill with